Standards. I saw a post that said, I see a lot of you women say you're single because you're not willing to settle or drop your standards. Okay, cool. So why aren't you being chosen by the men that meet your standards? Well, I wonder when men ask these questions if they've really thought it through. Because the first several ideas that came to me just made me think that he hadn't thought this through. The stats say that women initiate 70% of divorces and breakups. So the most obvious answer to that question is that the women were chosen and the men couldn't keep them because they didn't follow through. It's kind of like if you get hired for a job, you get chosen for a job, and then you get to the workplace, and after a while you see that the company isn't following through on the promises that they made you to pay you a certain rate at a certain time and the benefits that they promised to give you. And also, it's a hostile work environment. And so you quit or you resign or, you turn in your notice and you move on. So it's not that you didn't get chosen. It's that you chose to leave. So that was the first thing that I thought. Then I also thought about my own personal life, which I'll mention in a minute. But it also assumes that a woman who meets a man who meets her standards and he chooses her is going to choose him back. To me, a man meeting my standards means I'm going to give him my number. I'm going to go out on a date with him. But a relationship is not a guarantee. It's still a choice. The standards don't make the choice. I do. The woman do. And men choosing the woman or me doesn't make the choice for me. Again, I make the choice. Because even if he meets my standards, it doesn't mean that the experience that I'm having with him is worth giving up my singleness. It's kind of like if I go out to look at some houses or look at some cars because I am considering selling my house. I'm considering buying another property. I'm considering, trading in my vehicle and getting another one. I could drive a car that meets all my standards, but I could still decide, I like what I have better than going into this new thing. I don't want to go through the changes that it would take to get this new thing off the ground. And sometimes when you're faced with someone that meets your standards and you look at the totality of them and their situation, because that man doesn't just come as that man. He can come with in-laws and kids and all of that. So he could meet my standards as a person, but maybe the entire situation is not ideal for me at this time. And I decide that, hey, yes, he meets my standards. Yes, he wants a relationship with me, but it's just not something I want to move forward with. The last thing I wanted to say is I believe that I've been very blessed when it comes to relationships, even though I've had some ups and downs in relationships. I still feel like I've been very blessed. And every time I've left a relationship, I have changed my standards. So when I first left college and I was engaged, my standards were what I had been told to have. marry a good Christian man. That was it. I met a good Christian man. I fell in love with a good Christian man. He proposed to me and I married him. And then I realized that being a good Christian man left a lot of gaps because what I considered good, again, still left a lot of gaps. Things I hadn't thought about before I got married and had kids. And so when we got divorced, I created a list of 10 character traits that I wanted in my next partner. And then I met a man who had all those character traits. And I married him. He wanted me. He chose me. I married him. And once again, now we're at a different point in our life. Situations have happened, circumstances have happened, and I realized, oh my gosh, those 10 character traits led me to a much better experience, a much healthier relationship, but I still left out some things. And so I added those things onto my list for the next person, and he met those standards. And I've actually done that to where the last man that I was with, number 8, he met all of my standards except for 2, which I decided were negotiable because by that time my list had gotten to be about 25 things. So I went from good Christian man to about 25 things on my list, and I still got 23 of the 25. So when someone says in a meme, why are you women not willing to settle? Are you single because you're not willing to settle? Of course, there could be women who are single because they're not willing to settle. But there can also be women who are single because they have gotten everything on their list and they believe that singleness is still better than being with that person that chose them and met their standards. Because relationships are work. Relationships are effort. Relationships are sacrifice and negotiation. And you might meet somebody and decide, you know what, I would rather be single. Even though I enjoy dating this person, even though I enjoy spending time with this person, even though I have feelings and I care about this person, I still enjoy being single. And that's the part that I'm at right now. I'm dating 2 people and I enjoy them. I like them. They meet my standards. But once again, a relationship would be too much of a sacrifice for me at this point. May you walk